All right, so we're here. As promised, we were going to do a pregame. Me and Rob from the Football and Chill podcast. What's going on, Rob?
Another Sunday. Just another Sunday. Nothing crazy, nothing. Nothing on the line today. Just a regular old Sunday.
Yeah, this is one of those. This is a regular Sunday. Some we might be on the precipice of doing something we haven't done in 5 years, and
Yeah.
actually win the NFC East. So we have the final game of the regular season, Week 17, and we have the Washington football team versus the Eagles. And Washington just has a win. They win and they're in. So, just your thoughts of how we got here before we get into the meat and potatoes of the preview.
So it to say that this has been a roller coaster of a season is probably the biggest understatement you could possibly make about this team in a really long time. To go, not a rookie head coach, but our head coach is his first year here. We've gone through three quarterbacks, released one of them. You know, running back by committee in the biggest sense. It's been a good season. Even even if we don't win today, I still consider the season a success, just based on all the adversity that we've gone up. We faced throughout the years or throughout the season. Like I said, the quarterbacks. First year head coach in Washington. I would still call it a success, but definitely hoping that we're playing next weekend as well.
Absolutely. And you know what's funny about this season? It's almost kind of to to my plan. Well, not to plan, but I kind of predicted kind of some of these type of situations where we were going to have moments where we will lose confidence in Ron Rivera decision making. Notably, I remember I'm not sure as far as it's a as far as a universal thought, but like the whole thing with Bench Wayne after the Ravens game, him having pretty much his best statistical outing as far as yardage is concerned. So that was kind of one of those things in certain types of situations where we're going for it on fourth down in certain plays, and then just the whole hot potato at the quarterback situation where you put in, Cal Allen, then Cal Allen gets hurt, then because we were looking at Alex like, well, Alex is he going to be able to, as far as to hold up, and that was the biggest thing because he was supposed to be, he was literally, I would consider it an emergency
Yeah.
an emergency quarterback, and that was in the case of essentially both of them got hurt, and with that situation, and then even bringing in Taylor Heineke, which he was the quote unquote the CV-19 quarterback, where essentially he was the one that was kind of designated to kind of be outside the shadows to be like, hey, you're on the team if something happens, catastrophically, and then for him to perform in this regard, yeah, I think this, like you said, and I kind of allude to it a little later, but yeah, I mean, you look at this team, it's definitely the up and up. This is a team that's on the verge of a come up. So regardless, like you said, regardless of what happened tonight, I'm so proud of this team, regardless of what happened. But we know what's going to end up happening. We'll
Yeah.
talk about that a little bit later. But I'm just proud of these guys, especially at this point to be in it. And it's funny that we joked about this being a Sunday night flex game. I literally was joking like months
Yeah.
ago. I was like, watch as a joke, like this could be a flex as a rematch. So I mean, it's funny how that kind of came into fruition. But that's just one of those things where you look at it from the standpoint of just this team is fought hard. They're just indicative of Ron Rivera, where a
Yep.
guy who is just who fights hard even sometimes when you just look at when everything's down in the dumps, we rise. And just even to even what's going on personally, Coach Rivera, his health, you really realizing the severity that it really took on him. And I mean, you look at this all these stories where it's crazy to think 16 weeks ago, we were down at halftime in Philadelphia. Ron Rivera gets an IV. He was too weak to even have a halftime speech. And our former quarterback, the guy that's on your wall, that's no longer with us,
Yeah.
makes an impassioned speech. Which that's another thing where you look at all these things of how the turn of events have just changed. I mean, you went, and just with that situation. and just all of it. And now that we're sitting here now, and because our biggest thing, and I remember when we talked about this in the summer, we looked at that. I call it the holiday stretch when we looked at from Dallas on Thanksgiving to Seattle the Sunday before Christmas as
Yep.
kind of like those games that look, that we looked at as the character building games, which crazy as they sound, I figured that was going to be kind of the make or break as far as if they were to kind of make, postseason success. But literally, that's when the run essentially kind of started,
Mm-hmm.
where they won, 3 out of 4. Which that's another thing when you think like how we got here. It was that impressive stretch where literally the backs are against the wall. I mean, everything just from scheduling wise. I mean, you play the Thursday game against Dallas. Then you go to Pittsburgh on a Monday, which on a Monday at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, you
Yeah.
take care of business. Then imagine having to go back to Arizona to play the 49ers. So it's just that, and then then coming back home to Seattle on December the 20th, roughly 2 weeks ago, and
Mm-hmm.
and see how we're here, and it's just I'm just really impressed. I've seen we doubled our wins from last year, from being 3-13 last year to now 6-9. At this point, as we're recording this 4 hours pregame, but
Yep.
yeah, so we gotta get into the meat and potatoes of the pregame. So, Rob, what are your keys to this victory?
Real
If,
quick
if
before I get into that, shout out to the Cleveland Browns, man. First playoff
yeah,
appearance. They just beat Pittsburgh. They just clinched their first playoff appearance since 2002. I was 10 years old at the time. It's a crazy. I know a lot of Browns fans. I lived in Columbus for 3 years, so
uh,
definitely know a lot of Browns fans. So definitely shout out to them. I'm happy for Baker Mayfield. Definitely. But yeah, so the keys to win is it seems like we talk about this every week, whether we do a show or NBC Sports Network Washington with Santana Moss and all them, they do a show. It's always get off to a fast start. That has been our Achilles heel all season. We don't get off to fast starts. Luckily, we are, second half teams. We were close to coming back against Seattle. Um, uh, Taylor Hennessy almost brought us back against Carolina. I think if he would have started the second half instead of Coach Ron going back in with Dwayne, I think that game would have been much different. I think we would be wearing our NFC East champ sweaters right now. But that's the biggest thing is getting off to a fast start, whether it's Alex Smith, whether it's Heineke, no matter who it is. My next biggest key is feed Antonio Gibson. He's been a workhorse all day. That offensive line has been playing great lately. Just signed Chase Rouillet to a 4-year extension, locked him up through the 2024 season, which is a big move and very indicative of what this Ron Rivera regime is all about. You look in the past, we let people go. We'll draft guys, but we keep letting them go in free agency because whoever does Dan Snyder doesn't want to pay them or whatever the case. Locking him up to a 4-year extension is big. And giving the ball to Antonio Gibson, letting him run, letting him do his thing, letting the playmaker make plays is going to be key in eating up this Eagles defense.
yeah, big time. A lot of it too is kind of almost kind of indicative of what you were saying as well. But a couple of ones I want to really stress the importance of it. Number one has got to be turnovers. You cannot turn the football over. And I look at, and it's funny when I look at the last 2 games. Of course, we're on the 2-game losing streak. I look at the blunder, the special teams blunder against Carolina.
Yep.
Well, essentially, when you look at that, that changed the course of that game. Where you get that, and then coupled with the other turnovers of our former quarterback. But the one that really stuck out was the one that was for a touchdown. So that was another one when you look at it was a 2013 game. You take that out of the equation, then you don't really have to play for behind. You'll be kind of even killed because they
Right.
had the opportunity to win this football game. So and even in the Seattle game as well, where you look at those turnovers, they became paramount as well because I definitely I know I don't recall one of the turnovers, but one of those turnovers led to that to the what's the kid from Ohio State, the running back from Seattle.
Curtis Samuel.
The other one,
Oh, Carlos
the one
Hyde.
that Carlos Hyde, yeah,
Yeah.
Carlos Hyde, yeah. That led to that score, which in theory, that was the only kind of big play that Seattle had,
Yeah.
which that was
Absolutely.
pretty impressive. And that was a what? That was a I forgot. That was also what was a 21-15, if my memory serves correct. It was something of that nature. It was a a one score
Hmm.
game essentially. So those type of things you have to kind of especially in those cases where we were already shorthanded as far as from the quarterback position, and then even though we had Antonio Gibson, and even in the short sample size, which I mean, he had 61 yards off of 10 carries, which was pretty decent.
Very good.
But yeah, but then also let me see. Appreciate that, Jeff. Oh man, you know what? You know what?
All right. Shout out to the Pod Father. Appreciate that Pod Father because now I got it all. I got it all straight now. So appreciate it. Appreciate it. You're the real MVP, Pod Father. But so the
So we
turnover.
keep them around.
That's the turnovers. I think that's going to be the issue as well. A lot of it too is like you said, and kind of to your point too, where feed Antonio Gibson in that running game. Now you look at it from that standpoint of how essentially they gave Zeke over 100 yards last week. So you look at that, that's the continuation of that
Hmm.
potentially where you can kind of take advantage of that as well. And then another thing I really want to kind of touch on as well. Actually, a couple things. Well, really, the main one is attack them defensively, force a turnover on the defense where you get Jalen Hurts rattled. You really want to. It's. I know this is going to sound like kind of like a daunting task, but you got to keep Jalen Hurts in the pocket.
Yep.
Because to me, and like he went pretty crazy last week against Dallas. Even though we look at from the score, as far as we look at how terrible their run and pass defense were against Dallas, but they put out. Jalen Hurts was pretty efficient, minus the two interceptions last week. So you look at those things and you're like, you really got to keep him contained, which Dallas was able to get to him last week, which that's kind of a good indication. But then it's almost like you look at the Saints, who are kind of they're a mirror image of us as far as defensive line wise,
Hmm.
as far as getting pressure to the quarterback. And at that time, we chalk it up to where they didn't have that much film on them. But to me, that Philadelphia Eagles offensive line, I think they gave up 62 sacks, and which is just crazy. And then I think it's like they had like 80 quarterback hits. I think it's like 88. It's in the high 80s.
Yeah.
So you take advantage of those type of opportunities. I think this is going to be one of the type of games where it's just like everything's going to have to. This is going to be a three-phase football, and this is going to sound cliche-ish, but and really the key thing is defense. They say defense wins championships. Defense will win the NFC East in
Yep.
2020. So
Hmm.
defense has to be pretty much the calling card of this. If our beloved Washington football team wins this game and capture the division title.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But yeah, and you know what? Yeah, like you said, shout out to you talked about earlier. Shout out to Cleveland, man. Cleveland, when he said you say you were 10.
Yeah. I
Wow,
was. I was
I
10 years
was.
old.
That was my first year out of high school in 2002. So
You didn't
they
have to
went.
age yourself like that. I was just saying.
I mean, dude, and now I have gray hair. Like it's been a while. It's
Yeah. It's a
really
long time.
essentially half my adult life they have not been in the playoffs. So
Yeah.
definitely shout out to them, and who knows who they might have to go to Pittsburgh, might have to go to Buffalo. We'll see, but how that all happens. But yeah, it's going to be a very interesting game as far as those standpoints, and then also especially now we're at full strength, they can definitely take advantage of the Eagles pass D. I mean, because they've been horrible too. Because you look at last week between Gallup and Amari Cooper, they went over like I think it was a 242 yards combined
Mhm.
last week, which is, I mean, you sit down and you think about when we think about the Philadelphia Eagles, we look at them as look at that stat line, you're like, wow, this is very uncharacteristic. But this is gonna be that's gonna be one of those kind of the calling cards. As far as definitely the turnovers. Because to me, I think when you have those type of turnovers, like we've had those two losses, they're just daunting. And then you look at on the inverse of the other 3 wins that we collected, we were the ones that was controlling the turnovers as far as turnover margin and getting those type of breaks that you need. And this is going to be indicative of what's going to happen tonight if they win. So
yeah, and as cliche as it sounds, they always talk about if you win the turnover battle 9 times out of 10, you'll win the game. You have a very good chance of winning the game.
Yeah, and they will win. Yeah, they'll definitely win the game. And but this is, it's going to be definitely interesting to say the least. So, who are your players to watch in this classic NFC East showdown?
My two big ones is Chase Young and Montez Sweat, because we haven't dealt with a whole lot of running quarterbacks this season. Teddy Bridgewater is pretty mobile. Yeah. Jalen Hurts is really mobile. But for the most part, they've had the luxury of going, Kyler Murray AR defense up, in week I think 2 or 3 of the season. So it's gonna be a tough task for them to keep Jalen Hurts in the pocket and kind of contain him. But I think those two is going to be big, like you said earlier. Defense win championships, and we need our defense to show up big this game. Keep him in the pocket, keep him at bay. I don't think Miles Sanders is playing today, which is good. It helps us. So I think that's one more thing we don't have to worry about. Yep. Let me see. Fletcher Cox is out, and Nickel Robbie Coleman is out as well. So actually it's looking good for us. Their defense a little banged up. I like not having to worry about Fletcher Cox a whole lot. Outside of those two on offense is going to be Terry McLaurin. See if he can, because last year when we played Detroit, when Darius Slay was still with the Lions, I don't know his stats off the top of my head, but I know Terry McLaurin ate that game against Darius Slay, and be looking for him to do that again today.
Big time. And what's funny about this game, and like you said, as far as the players to watch, the one I really want to I'm focused on as far as when we're looking from the opposing, Jalen Hurts. I think I just want to see what he does in somewhat of the sample size that he has in this league. And I just want to see how he faces our defense. We look at week 1 where we had literally Carson Wentz being a statue in the pocket, and we forced 8 sacks in that victory. I just want to see that dynamic, like you said, because we really lately we haven't really had like mobile quarterbacks. I know we talked about Kyler Murray, which is pretty early on in the season. Yeah, so now, especially now as his defense has gelled, like we've had guys, even like you said, Bridgewater, and then also Russell. Like even and the beauty thing with Russell Wilson is we were able to contain him as well, and that was kind of that's the kind of the closest like replica as far as that we've had as far as a mobile quarterback was Russell Wilson, which now you look at it is can they contain that? Where you look at and the beauty thing about that, even though we didn't in the Seattle game, they're another team that was kind of notorious for having a bad offensive line. They kind of I think because they had it at once upon a time, I think they had like 40-something sacks committed. But then you look at but Russell, what was the beauty about Russell, and from a scout's take, well, more so just looking at the eye test, he's able to elude those type of pressures, and he's able to kind of make something out of nothing when the pocket collapses on him. He can just find shifty, crafty ways to kind of get the job done. So now you look at Jalen Hurts now, where he's in essence. Does he really have to? He still has to prove something, obviously, with just simple fact of because he will be their quarterback next year, because it looks like more than likely Carson Wentz is out. So as far as he wants out, I think they'll probably grant his wishes, but so he has something to prove on that one as well. Now from the offense standpoint, I want to see my guy Alex Smith, Club 1984. Member, one of the other members of that prestigious Club 1984 class. I want to see him how he's going to perform. This is going to be just a I think this is going to be one of those type of games where you're going to really see the tough and gritness of it. And I think, like you said, Rob, you said this. I think you were the first ones that said. Now it's just funny how everybody. I think, man, Cruz Allen is about to have some occupants.
I'm hot.
You're about to, you're going to have a population double the size of Gilligan's Island at one point. And you were saying it in the beginning where they might name the comeback player of the year after Alex Smith. And I think you're the first one that that said that. So, credit to you. So, I have to give you kudos, get ready to, give me a little life-size boat going down to Cruz Island for that one.
You have to name it after him after this season.
Correct.
I mean, to go from, most comeback player of the years, they usually come back from an ACL tear, which those are terrible as well. But to come back from a completely broken leg, 17 surgeries, not only nearly losing your leg, but nearly losing your life. Yes. His calf muscle is his former hamstring. Like they took some of his hamstring muscle, put it in his calf, and that's actually what he strained a couple weeks ago. So with all that, there's absolutely no way you cannot justify naming it the Alex Smith Comeback Player of the Year.
Correct. I'm looking at as far as his performance. I want to see what Terry McLaurin's going to do. Another, like we talked about earlier, as far as their pass defense, Philly's pass defense. You wonder who's going to be that second guy as far as with Terry. You look at Terry. I think Terry's going to come to play. I could definitely envision him having like an Amari Cooper type of production. The 121 yards last week. Now, who's going to be that second guy? Who's going to be the one that we look at? Who's going to kind of merge in the shadows? Mm-hmm. Who could it be at this point? But that's going to be kind of interesting to tell. I want to see this offensive line. Definitely want to see this offensive line and what they're going to do to help Antonio Gibson, which, like we talked about earlier, I was really impressed even in the small sample size that he had last week because he had 10 carries, 61 yards. So essentially, he had 6.1 yards per carry, and now he has somewhat like another week off of rest. So now you look at he's going to be charged up and get that all squared away. So I look at that, and I could definitely see him having an impact game, especially. And I think in this game it's going to be kind of one like a grit, kind of just move the chains. Just, not saying conservative, but kind of conservative, but kind of a little bit more of an edgier name than conservative. Right. But I think they're gonna really rely on that running game real heavy, especially if you get that type of production. And I'm not even saying like if you get 10 carries, but if he can get at least about 5 to 6 yards per carry, he moved those chains and you kind of help and you get that Philly defense tired. Like that's kind of, I think, one of the things that we it's like kind of like a key also to a Washington victory. So I just want to see how this offensive line is going to hold up. And I just like it. I mean, and then on the defense, Chase Young, like, him and Montez Sweat, I think those two guys, they can force, and they're the ones, it's funny, they're the kind of the hog, the clog that we really need, where you look at it from the standpoint of how they're able to get to the quarterback, get the pressure to the quarterback. They've even done, they've even stripped the ball from them. And matter of fact, last week, that was another key turnover that kind of led to our quote unquote, failed comeback last week. Mm-hmm. But those type of plays you need. So you look at that from that standpoint of, hey, you get that type of pressure on Jalen Hurts, and hopefully they'll get, keep him in that and kind of make the pocket more condensed for Jalen Hurts for that to happen. So I'm very encouraged, with that defensive line and just overall. But those kind of guys I really want to I'm kind of focusing in on, because I think those are going to be the ones that you look at as kind of like the difference makes. The ones, as far as the ones who we definitely we're gonna have a major impact if this team does win.
I think one person who's gonna be a dark horse, who's a dark horse to me, player of the game tonight, is gonna be Cameron Curl. Because if the play breaks down, Jalen Hurts has to scramble. At that point, you're playing backyard ball, and that's gonna be Cameron Curl. Just has to watch where the quarterback is going, watch his eyes, and hopefully be there to make the play. Doesn't necessarily need a multi-pick game, one would be nice, but just be there to break up plays that need to be broken up. It's going to be those little plays that, to keep from them converting a 3rd and 8, a 3rd and 10, something like that. He's a dark horse player of the game. I think he can come up big. He's going to play a big role.
Yeah, and he came and he was very pivotal in that San Francisco game where you look at where that changed the balance of the game, where he got a turnover right before the end of the third quarter, and that really kind of sealed the deal. Where and that was crucial because at that time that's when that was right. Well, that's when Alex got hurt, and then the former quarterback came in and we weren't moving the ball. So I just put it that way. And that play essentially saved that game. So those are the things we talked about earlier as far as the turnover battle. Those 3 wins were kind of indicative of the turnover battle, where they got timely turnovers and they led to scoring opportunities. And that's where you look at it just from that standpoint. And man, it's gonna be a very, very interesting game. Just the complexity of it. So I know we were going to do thoughts of the I know we had to run down as far as thoughts on the season. What we'll do is, how do you think this game is gonna how the game gonna play out?
So I think we're gonna get off to a slow start because for some reason that's just what we do. Unfortunately, we're not gonna come out. I don't think we're gonna score in the first quarter because most games we haven't been. I think we've gone. I don't know the number. I forgot the number off the top of my head, but we've gone a good amount of consecutive games without scoring in the first quarter. Yeah. It's going to take us a little bit. Smith, he's going to do what he's always done. He's a game manager. He's not, Patrick Mahomes' arm. He's not, a Lamar Jackson runner. He's a game manager. He's a very smart person. He's a very smart football player. Football IQ is astronomical. He's going to take what the defenses give him, as he always does. I think second half, we'll probably either be tied or we might be down by 3 going into halftime. Second half is when Ron Rivera is going to make some adjustments. Jack Del Rio is going to do the same. Chase Young is going to get invigorated. He's going to go in the locker room. He's going to flex that captain patch that he has earned, that he has absolutely earned.
Yeah.
And he's going to get that defense riled up. They're going to come out strong in the second half and pull out the win.
Yeah. I think it was going, like you said, kind of what you were saying as well. They will go off to a quick start. I definitely see Philly probably scoring in the first quarter per se. Then I look at like Washington's having a valiant comeback. I think the game is going to be indicative, I think, of the whole entire year, where they'll be playing from behind. They'll get some timely stops. They'll run the ball very effectively. Alex, like you said, I think he's going to just be very cerebral. He'll be the one that essentially, like you said, game manage, where he'll move the chains effectively. The running game is going to definitely help. I think the pass is going to kind of open up to the run game, which I think they'll get to a point where probably about third quarter ish, where they probably put up about 14 straight points, and then from there it's gonna be kind of cruise control in the fourth quarter, where they're gonna try to sustain that lead, and essentially, the opportunity to pass is gonna, obviously gonna be there, and I think they're gonna establish that first, and then the run game is gonna be second, and I think that second, that them establishing the run essentially is going to be the one that's going to pretty much win this game, where I think they're going to be able to kind of get those yards in the fourth quarter and kind of move the chains and essentially, keep the ball in Washington's possession. They don't turn the football over. I think they're going to win this game in all 3 phases. I think they'll take care of business in all 3 phases, because essentially if they win, they have to take care of all 3 phases. Yep. I think all 3 phases are going to be somewhat in sync. I think special teams are going to do their job as far as field position. Like, I think Tress Way, I think he'll do a great job as far as punting tonight, as far as putting Philly in in good and bad field position and
Yeah.
kind of helping. That also kind of helps as well, where the drives aren't as long and it's harder to to convert when you're backed against your wall, backed against the wall essentially. So I look at that's gonna be play a big pivotal part. Then I think at the end of the day, the run is going to the run game is going to be the one that's going to pretty much seal the deal for us. I think once we can convert, get to that point, and I do see us having a victory formation. I do see a victory formation in sight, in in the fourth quarter. So and yeah, so all right, so we want game predictions. Your score for this game.
So yeah, so like I said, it's gonna be a close game. I don't think we're gonna come out here guns blazing and blow Philly out. I still know the type of team that we have, but like I said, we do have a gritty team. We do have fighters. We got dogs on that team. I think it's gonna be a close one, 17-14. Washington win. Move on to face TB12 next weekend.
Yeah, I know, and that's something. Because they just clinched that fifth spot.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think Maz is almost similar. I think it's gonna be 24-17. Like I said, I think it's gonna be a situation where it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be a close, tough game. The running game is gonna definitely be our best friend and pretty much get us to victory formation when Philly runs out of timeouts in the fourth quarter and boom, that's where I look at it from that standpoint. And yeah, man, so we return back almost 5 years to the date. Well, really almost going on 6. Because the thing about last time we won a division, it was in Philly. So you look at it from the good juju, and I think one year I want to say 2007 was the year when we officially clinched. I think when we clinched in 07. Oh, well, yeah, 07. Then we clinched in Philly. Yeah, we clinched. I think we clinched in Philly. Yeah, we clinched in Philly.
07 we clinched in Dallas.
05 we clinched in Philly.
Yeah.
05 we clinched.
07 we clinched in Dallas. That was the year that Sean Taylor was murdered.
Yeah.
We beat Dallas by 21 that game.
Yeah, that's right.
Clinched that spot.
Now get this. All right, so 05 was the year. That's right, because 05 was the year that we won. Right. Now get this. Who do we end up playing the next week?
Tampa Bay.
like
Yep, I remember that.
Right, and we can't make this stuff up. And actually, and what's funny about it, that was our last playoff win. It was against that team, and that was in 2005.
Yeah. Yep, because then after that week we went on to play Seattle and played a close game there.
Yeah, and they end up going to Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Which was, you look at, hey, they represent the NFC, and it was close. That was kind of that was an interesting game. I remember that. But yeah, and hey, this history repeats itself in many ways, as we all know, especially now going into 2021. So Rob, let's put a bow on this pregame show. Rob, where can they find you on social media?
You already know where you can find me, FNC Pod on Twitter, Football and Chill Podcast on Facebook and Instagram. I got dope content coming out. Obviously going to start working a lot harder with the network. Going to start putting out good articles. So yeah, just be on the lookout for everything that we got coming out soon. Shout out to the Off the Ball Network. Hope all of y'all had a good Christmas or Hanukkah, whatever holiday you celebrate. And obviously a good New Year's. Can't wait to get back on with all of you. But definitely shout out to the network.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely huge shout out to the Off the Ball Network. Of course, we in there real heavy. So, we had to get the Off the Ball Network guys do the, the pregame today, so definitely huge shout out to them. The website, offtheballnetwork.com, where you can check me and Rob's podcast, articles as well. And yeah, man. So definitely follow the podcast, Couch Coach Live, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. And then also tomorrow night, the finale of Overreaction Monday. Man, I cannot believe that this regular season is over. So we'll talk about our biggest winners, losers, and also we'll talk a little bit of Black Monday. Well, it's another weird day in the NFL where multitude of coaches will be fired. So this and within the next 24
Mhm.
hour period. So we'll definitely kind of go over that as well tomorrow on the show, and that's at 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That'll be on the Facebook page of Couch Coach Live, and also on also the Off the Ball Network Facebook page as well, and then also on my Periscope. So definitely check that out tomorrow. And then we got the podcast on Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Don't forget to follow me on Apple, Spotify, the podcast on there. Also, YouTube, Couch Coach Live as well. Hit that like, subscribe. If you like this, hit the like button, subscribe, share it. So the champagne is on ice, Rob.
I got Fanatics website already ready to go.
Correct. Same as here. It's funny to be a little transparent. So we got a bonus at work. So we had a choice of what what you wanted. So Fanatics is one of the options. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna get a Fanatics because at the end of the day, I'm gonna order my stuff, order my merch. Because I was like, everything I was gonna because I was gonna do the easy way out and just get Amazon. Because Amazon is just an easy out.
Yeah.
And I probably would have just used it, extensively. So you know what? I was like, you know what? I'm gonna get Fanatics, order my championship merch. I thought I was gonna do it yesterday. I mean, not yesterday, but last week. But that didn't come to fruition. But hey, we're here. The champagne's been on ice for 2 weeks. Hey, tonight is the night.
I'm ready to pop it open.
Absolutely. Like you said, I'm ready to order my merch. I'm ready to really like solidify this nightmarish of a 2019 season, and then with this 2020 season ending, and I want to come out on top. Forget a draft pick. I'm like at this point, forget a draft pick. Forget the money. Forget being in pools, betting again. Forget the money.
Yep.
I want a championship. I want an NFC championship. I want to see Tom Brady at FedEx Field next week.
You and me both.
I want to see him tap dancing in that pocket next week.
He's gonna be doing a lot of dancing next week.
Correct.
That much. And if I get fired, that's fine. Because we all know the head honcho, is a huge Tom Brady fan, but it's okay. You know what?
If
I go out talking trash about Tom Brady, then you know what? It's not the worst thing I could have done.
Hey, you gonna be all right. Hey, but I'm telling you, that's what we're looking forward to next week, man. I definitely hope that this comes to fruition, but I definitely think this is gonna potentially happen. So definitely, Rob, definitely appreciate you coming on the pregame, and
appreciate you having me.
Not a problem. We got 4 hours. I don't know. Part of me, I'm thinking about taking a nap. I don't, because what I'm saying, it's because it's 8:20 in my time, so it's like, all right, we'll be up to midnight.
Yeah.
You might want to kind of take a nap, kind of ease my nerves, kind of get out this hypeness, kind of, sleep a little, take a little 2-hour nap, meditate for like a few, and then just get in the right zen. And like you said, point and click, buy.
Yep.
Heart empty.
Hey, you know what? You know what, though? One silver lining, no matter what happens tonight, at least Dallas won't be division winners.
Correct.
I'm okay with that. As long as Dallas don't win the division, which they will not, because they just got whooped on by the Giants.
Yes.
I'm okay with that.
And I'm cool with them. If they, because at the end of the day, as long as they're the Cowboys.
Yep.
And at this time, we can look at it from a standpoint, hey, if we do lose, we did lose to a team in the Giants that swept us. And you look at the type of things where we had little small things in that game that we could have cleaned up. So you look at it so whatever happens, I'm happy. Whatever happens, it's you learn from it. When you were 3-13 last year, and now to a point now you're able to play to win for the NFC East champion.
Yep.
It's great. Who'd ever thunk? And it's funny because I had this team being 7-9. And people looked at me kind of funny. And I'm like, but I didn't think they were going to win a division with that record.
I had this team going 10-5. or 10-6, I mean.
And it's funny because I figured it was going to be, because I think I had them 7-9, and I had actually Philly winning the division. So that's another thing too, where you look at it from the standpoint of, hey, 7-9, wins his division essentially, or a 10-loss New York Giants team could go in, but it's all to the good. But hey, it's whatever happens tonight. It's going to be a great night. It's just going to be, it's just great to be in this position. This was supposed to be the, Cancun on 3 kind of game where essentially, hey, what we playing for? Like, I mean, this time we were like, because none of the franchise quarterbacks are at our length. Justin Fields and, Trevor Lawrence is not in our grass anymore. It used to be, but we've upgraded. So now it's not Cancun on 3. It's not a situation where, hey, it's time to just pack it in, guys. I'm not going to get mad if you win. Like, why in the hell did you go up at 95 and win a football game? No, please go up there and win a football game like I did with the Jets 2 weeks ago. But so yeah, this is it's it's 1, 2, 3 championship. So at this point, championship on 3. So yeah, man. So definitely appreciate you, Rob, and we get up on out of here, and man, and we'll just put it in the air. Congratulations to our 2020 NFC East champion football team.
Speak it into existence.
Speak it to existence. That's what we have to do. We have to speak things to existence. It is 2021. There's no time to be humble.
You're right.
On that note, catch you guys and enjoy the game.